Welcome to the Path to Be Well podcast, a podcast about being well. I'm Doug Rawson. Join me, Mark Tremblay and Paul Clory each week as we answer your questions with the sole purpose of helping people who suffer from a chronic medical condition and considering the safe use of cannabis so you can have a better quality of life. In this podcast episode, we are joined by Linda, a healthcare professional who did not support a medical application of cannabis. Now, as a naive cannabis consumer, Linda has used a cautious approach. Through her family's unwavering support and her determination to find a new path to wellness, she now sees benefits to her treatment. Join us as we learn from Linda the internal dialogue with her discovery. Now, let's join in on the conversation.
Welcome to our broadcast. To all our listeners, we're so happy that you've joined us. And I'd like to note that you can also find us on YouTube or on our website, weedwell.live. This next hour is focused on adding clarity regarding cannabis as a treatment option and whether or not it's right for you, and will bring clarity and help you make informed decisions with respect to improving your quality of life. Now, you may know someone that could benefit from this type of information. So please do us and them a favor by sharing this event. My name is Mark Tremblay, a founding member of Simcoe Holistic Health and Weedwell. I want to share with you how I became involved with cannabis as a medicine. As a teenager, I did sample marijuana and quickly concluded it just wasn't for me. I will admit, I did find myself judging those who did consume marijuana, thinking that their sole motive was just to get high. It wasn't until many, many years later that I discovered the true medicinal benefits of marijuana. A loved one was diagnosed with MS, and after many months of symptom manifestation resulting in sleepless nights, I witnessed firsthand how cannabis can help alleviate symptoms and improve sleep. My eyes were open and my interest further increased. As a result, Simcoe Holistic Health opened its doors in 2013. Since then, we have served nearly 6,000 patients ranging from ages 3 to 93. I have personally witnessed countless individuals and families experience improved quality of life. Having said that, I've also observed that cannabis treatment is simply not for everyone. And for that reason, I want to caution our listeners that cannabis treatment is not a one-size-fits-all. Determining if cannabis is an appropriate treatment requires the attention, care, and focus of your healthcare team. At Weedwell, we are committed to helping people improve their quality of life. And utilizing cannabis as a treatment option is one way to accomplish that. So joining me for this session are my colleagues Paul Clory and Doug Rawson. Also joining us is Linda. Linda has added cannabis to her treatment plan a few weeks ago, and she's going to share a little bit about her journey, and maybe perhaps even more importantly is how she finally made that step and decision to include cannabis in her treatment option. So Linda, Paul, and Doug, welcome. So Linda, so nice to see you, and thank you for joining us tonight. And we're going to start off by asking what a day in the life of Linda was prior to including cannabis in your treatment plan. But as I mentioned already, I remember some hesitations in even trying cannabis. I think you had been considering it for some time. So why don't you start off by telling us a little about that?
Okay. Thought about it. It's been in the public eye now for some time, and but I'm from the health field, and that is not an option, or it wasn't anyway, where I came from. And so it was always pushed aside, and tried the other routes of medication that didn't work, or I wasn't comfortable with anyway. So I finally was desperate enough, reach out for more information, and with support of my family and your support and your team, that's how I jumped in.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. So prior to cannabis, Linda, just share what a day in the life of Linda was prior to introducing cannabis. And we all know, and we say this all the time, it's not a miracle option or drug or cure, but it can help alleviate some symptoms. So tell us about your experience thus far. And it's been a few weeks, right?
Yeah, just over a few weeks now. And I'm still playing with the dosages. I'm very sensitive to stuff like this, so medications as well. And so very little. I noticed changes kind of right off the bat. But then as time went on and that increased, definitely felt improvement with the arthritis, the anxiety, big difference in just this short time already.
So if I recall, Linda, you started with what we would call baby dosage, okay? And don't take that personally, but we heard you saying that you are, hypersensitive to medication. And we know there was some, a little bit of anxiety, perhaps even in introducing that. So we said, let's really go to the side of caution and start with the baby dosage. So how that kind of evolved from there, if you don't mind.
Well, I guess I had experiences with homeopathic products and it just didn't go well. So I was really anxious to try this, thinking that the same would happen, but it didn't. It didn't. You don't notice it, like I said, other than very little things change and you have to stop and think, oh my, I just did this and it's working. I'm not in pain or whatever. Yeah, it's really hard to explain, but you do notice. And I'm working my way up there with the dosage.
So for clarity for our listeners, Linda is strictly utilizing CBD for her treatment and daytime only. So Linda, a day in the life of Linda before introducing cannabis, what things were you finding difficult to do?
Everything. Housework, walking, enjoying my horseback riding. I had to give up a lot of stuff, including my home, because I just couldn't look after things anymore. Everything was painful. And if I did something, I'd have to go and sit for a while with either ice or hot pack. It wasn't very nice. And then with the anxiety stuff involved as well, you don't socialize much.
Linda, when did, I assume, we'll go with pain. How about we go with pain? When did that all start for you? How many years are we talking? It sounds like a long problem.
Yeah. I mean, I started arthritis probably in my late 40s, early 50s, but never really noticed it much. But gradually over time, the more I wanted to do, the more exercise I did, the more work and trying to do things. The past 2 years, I think, have been the worst. Like I said, where I've literally just been giving up one thing after another and not wanting that to be it.
Yours is a common story we hear where the initial onset, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a long-term problem and you power through. That's kind of a lot how we're wired. Can you tell me a little bit about the anxiety? Is that resulting from the pain or something completely different? We often find patients come in with comorbidities, 2 or 3 things happening, but it usually starts with one issue. Was that the case for you?
I was diagnosed with PTSD in the early 90s. That's a whole different ballgame, which CBD has made remarkable changes for me with the anxiety. I wouldn't be sitting here right now doing this a few weeks ago. Trust me, it would have been impossible. So I'm getting a benefit of a couple of things.
For the pain, can you share some of the different trials, maybe medications, all the steps you went through before you got to the cannabis?
Oh gosh, I probably, like everybody else, you try anti-inflammatories, pain pills, Tylenol, Advil, ice and cold continually. I've tried physio, but it's all short-lived, and I really did not want to spend the rest of my life taking drugs just to, have a bit of pain relief. It wasn't in my plan. Didn't want to do it.
Linda, thanks for taking the time with us out of your busy weekend and your own time. I appreciate you joining and connecting with us tonight. And do know, Linda, your story is resonating with people and you're empowering people to take a step And whether that step is go see their family doctor, go talk to their pharmacist, look at another alt treatment, whether it's chiropractic, naturopathic, dietitian, whatever it is. You being here tonight, you're empowering people to take a forward step. And that's our mantras. We want to give people the tools to move forward. So thank you for that. Linda, I wonder if you can help us tell people what was, you said you've only been on for a few weeks. When you decided cannabis might be an option for you, was that a pretty easy suggestion? Like, was it woke up one morning saying, I'm going to try CBD and away you go? Or what was going on in your mind to get you there? Was it a quick, easy solution, or did it take you some time to get up?
No, it wasn't easy at all. A long time ago, when things were being legalized, I was interested in finding out more, but I was still, I don't know, you just feel like that's not okay. But I think with information, that was really coming out in all kinds of fashion, newspaper articles, magazines, people talking, and the help of and support of my family, I think is what finally, said, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and try this, and I did.
Linda, did you work with your healthcare providers, whether that's a naturopath or a doctor or a pharmacist, like your traditional care team? Were they part of that, or was it mainly the research you had done and your family to support you down your decision making?
No, they weren't a part. Actually, I was a little afraid to go through my family doctor because of his actions in the past with naturopathic care. So I didn't want to have to defend myself. Mm-hmm. And my naturopath unfortunately retired a few years ago, so I haven't had that either. So it's strictly the information I got from you, and I reached out, and yeah.
Thank you for that.
So you made that leap and decided CBD was for you. And we've heard baby steps already come up. And so I think it's fair to say you started at a small dose. We spend a lot of time with patients, and in our course, we have something called Be Progressing. And really, it's about adjusting that dose to fit you. How's that process been for you?
It's interesting because I've had to learn to be patient, because you do think it's going to be automatic. Because of your support at the end of a phone call or an email or whatever, when I have a question, and I find as time goes on, the questions are different, because now you're in a different place and you go, oh, I wonder how that works, so like I said, it's a lot with your support, and then I get information, and then I'm for a while. I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, it does. Doug, were you going to jump on something there, I think?
No, go ahead, Paul. Follow up, Paula.
You mentioned things changed as you started down the path. Very common theme. Can you elaborate on some of that for the audience who may not be familiar? Like, we're familiar with that, of course, but what kind of changed, the different things you were looking for or assessing, let's say?
Right. It's funny. It just every day there was something different. Like, I wasn't sleeping well prior. I'm sleeping better, so that was like a big difference for me. I go for walks every day with my dog, and I found I could go further all the time and not come back and be in horrible pain and not wanting to go again the next day. So little changes, being able to, go downstairs with the laundry basket and not, worry that my knee might give out or whatever is going to hurt. Changing a bed, time to change the sheets every week. So a lot of little things like that made a difference, and I can do those things, and I can also go out and enjoy being outside as well. I don't have to do one or the other.
Yours is a common story to some of the other patients and guests we've had on the show before. I think we were relating last time, Doug, about peeling back layers of that onion, and you start with arthritis. or the PTSD anxiety symptoms. And, I've talked already, you power through. You don't necessarily get your mind to how lousy your sleep has been till you actually notice that it's a little bit better, or I'm waking up a little bit more rested. The other thing, which is great, is, baby steps, but in another way. For you to go downstairs, that can be huge. If hypothetically your laundry room is situated downstairs, that's a life task that you need to do once a week or however often you're doing your laundry. And so, no, when you say, oh, it's just little, no, that's huge. That's because it's important to you. Or it's important for you to get out with the dog and enjoy the outside as well. So when you say these things, we tend to ask our patients, what's your pain on a scale of 1 to 10? And that's just one assessment. But the person tends to give about the same number. Well, it was a 7, now it's a 6. What are you doing differently? And then, so when you say that, this is a common theme, a common discussion we have with our patients. So, don't belittle it, like celebrate that. Those are wins. Those are big wins for you. Thank you.
Yes, they are.
So Linda, I particularly liked when you said you had to be patient. Having said that, knowing that it took you a long, long time to make that decision, aren't we all very similar in nature, where when we make that decision, we expect immediate result? And although that can happen, it's not common. So more what you've experienced is more the common way that things do unfold. But we live in a society of quick fix. So if we're out and about and hunger comes on, we go through a drive-through and, gobble that down, and it fixes that temporary problem in a hurry, right? And we expect that for many other things. But it is, baby steps. And for some people, it can take, 7, 10, 14 days before they actually start seeing noticeable results. So that would be the exception, but that can happen as well. But the important thing is to stay the course. And you've done that. And I recall a conversation with you where you said, once you increase a certain dosage, you started to feel a little lightheaded. And you went back to yesterday's dose. And that rectified that. But by yourself, you made the decision a few days later to say, okay, now I'm going to see if I can get over that step. And you did. So why don't you tell us a little about that for the sake of our audience to hear, because those are all very beneficial tips and learnings.
Yeah, it was just funny. Like I couldn't make giant steps with the increases. That's what I found out. For me, anyway, that's how it works. So I just thought I'd go back and do the baby steps again, and increase in smaller increments. It seems to be a lot better. And again, I needed to hear from you because I wasn't sure of your expectations and my expectations. So it was great to talk to you about it.
Linda, quick question. So far tonight, you've talked about CBD, and I think you're dosing with oil. Could you kind of help us understand, how did you land on CBD? What got you thinking CBD was the right thing to include in your treatment? And how did you land on oil as the right appropriate treatment to be included in your plan? I'm just interested to hear your internal dialogue that went on for that decision making as well.
That's a tough one. Again, I think a lot of it has to do with my background in the health field and that constant little voice saying, you should be taking this stuff. But so I thought after discussing it with you and getting more information about CBD, that might be the best way to work. And I know you suggested at times that maybe I can take THC in small doses as well if needed down the road. And having done this much after these weeks, I'm more open to that suggestion than I would have been any other time.
And how about the oil, Linda? How did you land on oil as a treatment modality for you, as opposed to other forms, whether it's an inhalation method or a topical method? Like, how did you land thinking that an oil treatment under your tongue might be the best treatment for you?
Oh, you mean like? I'm not into anything that I would inhale. I'm not comfortable with. I know there's other forms out there, I guess, in the way of, I call them candies. But no, I was more comfortable just knowing I was using the oil. I can see the exact dose that I'm taking, and I can make adjustments easier for me.
Linda, I know, I know we know this between our dialogues back and forth. Again, there's someone listening tonight that, you know, their story, they're looking and listening, they're going, something you said is triggering them going, hey, that's me. You know, I have a similar condition, or I'm afraid of starting it because of the stigma or my career path or, you know, what my doctor thinks. I'm just not sure what this product will do to me or how it will affect me. Your cautious approach and the feedback you're given, you know, again, you're providing guidance and support to someone to give them the forward motion and the confidence that, you know, they too can move forward and look at and improve quality of life. So thank you again.
You're very welcome. I'm glad I can help.
But we've written a whole blog article on it. And it's the 4 main ways to consume cannabis, whether it's edibles or your candies, as you mentioned, Linda, the oil that you're currently using. Oh, there we go. Whether you inhale or use it topically over a joint, you mentioned the knee earlier, all have their places in pretty much every treatment plan. It's just what it is that you're looking for, or as you already described, Linda, what you're comfortable with. And I think you really touched on one of the great benefits to oil dosing is you take a syringe and you know exactly how much is in there and you're putting on your tongue, under your tongue,
yes.
And you can adjust accordingly, especially when you want to take the baby steps, as you said. Are you good to continue? We'll get you talking again, Linda?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Out of curiosity, we've discussed before in previous weeks, cannabis as a tool in the toolbox. Now that you're able to seemingly get around a little bit better, less pain and what have you, is physiotherapy and massage and things like that on the docket? We've had patients that have got to a level of less pain so they could do those types of activities and repair muscles or strengthen muscles, and stuff like that. Is that something you're looking to do or have done?
I wasn't going to, but actually, because I do have a medical issue with my lower back that's mechanical, I will be going shortly for a massage to help with the muscles and such. But no, wasn't real. It's not in my plan to have to, not if things keep going the way they are. Yeah.
Just for everyone who's watching our broadcast, you know, I think you said you weren't interested in considering it before legalization and then trying to figure out, you know, how do I move forward, as well as, you know, what's the right modality when you consider all the stigma that was out there. So that's what I heard you say, but is there anything more? Like, were you against cannabis overall, Linda, or was it just all those other distractions, we'll say?
I guess, to be honest, because of my background and my family upbringing, I guess to be honest, yeah, I was against it. Okay. I didn't think of it as medical use. I didn't see it that way. I just saw, like Mark said, people, you know, using it on the streets. I had to deal with people coming into hospitals that have, you know, taken stuff. So I was seeing a different side of it then.
And that's not an uncommon thing, Linda. A lot of people, even now, don't even, you know, look at it as a responsible treatment modality that can be included in treatment plans.
Yeah.
And you know, the research is still, like, we're early days and starting the research to understand not just the short term, what's the short term, medium term, long term effects, what are the upside and the downsides. You know, for the most part, we have a better understanding now than we did even a few years ago on the short term, but you know, we still don't know about long-term effects. So still early days. So it's not uncommon. And especially, like you said, we think about upbringings and, you know, the stigma it's only been legal for 2 years. And that's opened up dialogue. That's opened up conversations in communities. Yes. Where people are now having the conversation, where we didn't have to, you know, be fearful of the conversation before. And now people are sharing their experiences where, you know, we couldn't, because of stigma, we couldn't really have those sharing sessions before now. So, I think it's just part of the evolution. Good.
I agree.
Well, Paul, anything else that you want to share or ask with Linda? I think we've got a great sharing experience with Linda and her journey tonight. Anything else you'd like to?
Yeah, just ask one more thing. It's, again, another theme we've heard with previous guests, and you've mentioned a support system.
Yes.
And I just wondered if you could elaborate on the type of support you're getting in the background. What's pushing Linda forward?
Well, your team.
Okay.
That's number one. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this at all. I wouldn't attempt it on my own at all. And my boys, they're very supportive and wanted me to do this a long time ago to try. But yeah, you do need some support.
Yeah. Linda, again, I think Paul said this a little earlier this evening. All the work is the work that you've done, and the response and everything is you. We can provide a bit of a roadmap. We can kind of orient you towards the direction you want to go, north, south, east, or west. But you're the one that got out, and you're the one that's doing the work. You're the one that's doing what needs to be done, and stay in the course. And like you said a little while ago, is sometimes we want a quick fix, but it just takes time. And you doing the work and stay in the path, you're getting the results that you're looking for. And I'm just hopeful that Linda's today is better than where you were before you started. And I hope 3 months and 3 years down the path, you continually get the successes that you deserve. So, on behalf of all of us, I want to thank you for sharing tonight and helping more people improve their life. And, we don't profess that cannabis needs to be the solution to everybody. And if they went and talked to their doctor about any medical condition, you gave them the confidence to move forward, I would say success. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well, there we go. Another great sharing episode. You know what I really like with Linda's story is so far, the last few weeks, we've been talking about where somebody was at a specific time. And we relate that back to the be clear stage. Be clear. Let's establish, some baselines about where are you here and now. We call it the health selfie. And then we move into the be aware stage. What's your conditions and what's appropriate, what's not. And we've tried to relate our conversations there. And Linda's story is so fresh, like she's weeks in, but we can quickly progress through a be clear all the way to be progressing, right? When we're kind of in that titration stage right now, and it's still an evaluation, right? It's still do we titrate up? Do we titrate down? Where do we need to go? And it's so early that some of the good response that we've been hearing from people, we've been getting some really good life-changing comments. Not that we need to see it all the time, but it's so early that we might see Linda back in 6 months, a year from now, and she might say, you know what, guys, after that day, I hit some challenges or some roadblocks, and I think those would be good to hear. But I think because we got to experience kind of this journey path with Linda tonight, it's a really good piece that people can share. So that was kind of a little bit of my take. As well, I also really appreciated the stigma and the fear of going to talk to her trusted healthcare team. She wanted to take control. She wanted to take charge and move forward, but just needed a little help along the way. And just how overwhelming some of the information was that was credible, that would give her the confidence to move forward. It's kind of some of my takeaways there.
I will echo you, starting with another great story. And yet another guest, the years and years of suffering. She mentioned the 90s, like it's 2020 now. And we're so ingrained and it's not only healthcare workers, but being in the field, I see that a lot. You got to push through for the next patient and this and that. And I think to some degree, you forget to take care of yourself until, well, as she pointed out, the pain was too much the last couple of years. And now I really got to take care of myself. But how do I do that? And so, her path is like you played out, Doug, very recent history, if you will. But even if she goes and has challenges, after this day, as you pointed out, she's still on the path. Mm-hmm. It just might be a quick turn back to be informed and maybe the type of cannabis she's taking or how she's taking it. And then she continues that forward movement, but we won't know till later on in the future. But that's the wonderful thing about the path. It might be a little more windy or whatnot, but we still try to keep moving forward.
You know, Paul and Mark, I haven't shared with you guys this, but our analytics, we're getting more and more people wanting to watch us when we have people like Linda that want to be here with us. They don't just want to hear us. They want to hear people like Linda sharing their stories. But, you know, one thing I've noticed, Paul and Mark, I don't know if you're seeing this, but, you know, Linda tonight and previous guests that we've had before, I don't think they really understand the impact they're having with people. Like, I don't think they understand, like, they are dramatically providing a positive impact in helping people move forward. And we're seeing that hours after our broadcast. We're seeing hours after that someone said, hey, listen, last night I watched fill in the blank, and I've got a similar thing. Do you think you can help? Do you think this would help them? And remember, one of our first weeks, someone sent in literature to say, would you pass this on? And we can't minimize the power of stories and sharing stories in a community like this and how powerful that can be and really giving people the tools and confidence to move forward. And that alone, I think, you know, I got a tremendous, I think we all have a tremendous debt of gratitude to Linda and everyone before her that have shared these stories, because, you know, we're on this path together to help people. And I think it's just tremendous.
I would totally concur with you, Doug. One point that Paul raised earlier is that, you know, when ailments do come on, so discomfort, any type of pain, that we just naturally try to push through that. And then it starts to feel like it's normal, and you accept it as being normal, and it continues to progress. And as Linda was mentioning, it got to the point where all the things that she enjoyed doing, going for a walk and spending time with the horses, she found herself unable to do that. Now, that did not happen overnight, as you said, Paul, like back in the 1990s. So it's been progressing and progressively getting worse to the point where she says, I have to do something. And we've talked about this in previous sessions, where you reach that fork in the road where you say, you know, I either just continue down this path that I'm really not enjoying anymore, or I make a decision to make a change and make a choice, and that will contribute to betterment. And Linda's a good example of that. And to your point, Doug, where you said, you know, most patients that we do have on our live broadcast may not recognize or appreciate truly the impact that they have. And I think on our listeners, and I think in the case of Linda, among many, but one of them that stood out to me is her concern was that she is hypersensitive to any type of medication, even the holistic and supplements that she got from her naturopath. And a listener right now might be, you know, one of those as well, and concerned about even introducing cannabis as a treatment option for that exact reason. So to me, that stood out as a great example that, you know, perhaps more than one listener right now is saying, that's me. And if it's working for Linda, then I'm optimistic it could work for me. And for Linda, it wasn't just a baby dose at first. She found out through trial and error that she started to see the results and started to accelerate at a pace that was maybe beyond her body's ability to adjust to it. And that's when she called and she said, I was feeling lightheaded. And that wasn't a big leap, but for her, it was too big of a leap. And then she went back in her own wisdom and said, is that okay? I said, absolutely. And then she continued with the baby steps beyond that. When I checked with her later on, she says, yeah, she was able to get past that threshold and that she was seeing, you know, further improvement. So very, very valuable information for, you know, many of our listeners, I'm sure.
You know, we didn't talk about this tonight with Linda when she was here. It would have been interesting to learn, but we'll try to remember that for next time. But I just want to tell our audience right now, if you go to weedwell.tips, we have a resources page. And this resources page has some of our handouts and tools that we like consumers to use. So weedwell.tips. And on there, we've got some tools to help you on helping you get clear in your medical condition, to what is your medication record. I know tonight when Linda was talking tonight, she was saying, it sounded like she came in, Paul, we were talking about pain, and she said, it's also helping me with sleep. And that's when we're talking about peeling back the onion. Well, we have a sleep diary on our page that you can download with some suggestions on how to improve sleep that doesn't involve cannabis, as well as some sleep hygiene strategies. So there's just some really good resources at our weedwell.tips page, how to set your health goals, documenting with our health journal, your treatment that's underway right now, establishing your treatment plan. So it's a fairly new resource that we've opened up, but please go to weedwell.tips. You have access to a bunch of resources. If there's anything missing that would help you, please email us at info@weedwell.com. We'd be happy to post it there. If we don't have it, we'll work our hardest to craft something up. So weedwell.tips. Paul, you probably know what I'm going to suggest or ask, but it's been a tradition, so I thought, why not? Let's continue the tradition. Linda progressed quickly in our conversation from be clear to be progressing. But I don't know if everyone knows what that means. Do you think you could kind of tell everyone what this, when we talk about be clear and be progressive, what does that mean? What are we trying to illustrate here?
Okay, so the basic illustration is our signature course. And what it is relating to is the 5 core content modules that reflect patients, consumers at various points, we'll say along the timeline of cannabis treatment. And so you've already touched on a few of them, Doug. Be clear is the first one. And this is when you're trying to get clear about yourself, your medical conditions, and everything that has gone, we'll say, into you to get you to this point today. This is your starting point. This is the selfie, the health selfie that Doug referred to earlier on in our discussion. And from there, everything else is going to stem. So the next core content module is what we call Be Aware. And this delves into medical conditions appropriate and inappropriate for cannabis treatment. And in there, you would find things like pain relating to arthritis, using Linda's example, as well as PTSD and anxiety. At the end of this, you're going to make a SMART goal, also one of our tools on weedwell.tips. But what we want to do at this point with that SMART goal is create accountability. And now you're going to answer to yourself. And using some of Linda's goals, getting down the stairs pain-free, taking the dog for a walk. They can be large goals, they can be small goals, but we want you working towards something so you can move your health selfie along, if you will. Be informed is our next module. And this is when we finally introduce cannabis. And so we'll talk about CBD, THC, and how to consume it. And there was a little bit of the discussion about the pros and cons specific to oil dosing tonight. But we cover all the 4 methods of consumption in Be Informed, the pros, the cons, and otherwise. Be Progressing. Kind of exactly where Linda's at right now. This is implementing and adjusting your dosing based on how you feel. And one of the most important skills we want to get you to develop as consumers and just for your wellness in general is that listening to your body. And we tonight was a great example of that. I started feeling a little lightheaded, but we provide tools for that as well, things like health journals. And so you can document that when it comes time to see your physician again or your nurse practitioner or whoever in your family health team. We want you documenting your journey. And so you can relate exactly how you feel in relation to when you started your dosing to wherever you are at in your dosing at this point in time. Our last module is called Be Well. And this is where we're going to compare and contrast your health journey over this time. And so, if we use Linda as an example tonight, her health selfie a month ago looks different today. And so if she was to go through this process again, this compare and contrast, her next set of goals are look different than her set of goals a month ago. And we want to continue this path. It's continuous. There's no set amount of times you can do this. But this is why we call it the path to be well. It's your wellness, and your accountability to yourself, and getting back, using Linda as an example, the things she couldn't do, getting back to those things and enjoyment in life. Pathtobewell.com.
Awesome job, Paul, as always.
Yeah.
Can I share another resource, guys?
Go for it.
Absolutely.
So another great resource I'm proud of is weedwell.guru. And if you go to weedwell.guru, it brings you to our new answer vault. And I think as we grow here, we're establishing a pretty strong resource available for people. So as always, we suggest to you, if you have any questions, please email us, info@weedwell.com. We'll be happy to answer it in our next episode. But in the meantime, you could always go to our weedwell.guru, and that will bring you to our answer vault. And I'm sharing my screen. Those are listening, again, weedwell.guru. You'll get onto a landing page like so, and all you need to do is go in the search bar, and you got to search whatever you're interested in. So last time we had Jim on, and Jim talked about anxiety. So if you just remember, you watched an episode the other day, and Jim was talking about anxiety, you just type that in and hit enter, and it's going to bring up the last broadcast, it's going to search all of our sessions, and it's going to pull up anything where anxiety was there, and it's going to pull it up where you can watch the episode right to the minute when it was done. If you want to know about driving, you just put in driving into the search bar, and it's going to pull up any episodes where we talked about driving. So there's one on December 7th, there's one December 2nd, September 29th, and they'll bring you right to the minute when we were bringing that topic up. So if you don't want to wait until the next broadcast, you go to weedwell.guru. That's our answer vault, and we're getting to get a large amount of data sitting inside there, hours and hours worth of data. You don't need to go fishing through it all. You can just put in your search term in there and listen to what was actually said. If you feel we didn't go deep enough and you'd like to get a little more information, again, submit the question. Say, you know what, you guys talked about this, but I want to know more. Please tell me more about what this means. So weedwell.guru.
What a valuable tool, and I would encourage those our listeners to explore that, either for yourself or someone else who's seeking information. And Doug, you probably are expecting this, but one of my favorite tools, and you got it, MyDose, DOSC.co. Why don't you tell us about that, or tell the audience about that?
Yeah, no problem. So mydose.co is our calculator, and it's to help you to dial in your dosing. So tonight we talked with Linda a little bit. We talked about her dosing, and she started micro-dosing up. A lot of times when we talk about extracts specifically, it's stated in volume. So I'm taking this much mils a day. I'm taking 1 mil a day or 2 mils a day. The problem is the concentrations are different across the providers. So depending on where you are and what your sales mechanisms look like, one provider might be a super concentrated form, another one might be half of that concentration. So if you're used to taking 1 mil and it's a less concentrated product, and then you get a high concentrated product, you could be doubling your dose in essence if you don't know what the volume is. So our dosing calculator helps you with that. So if you go to mydose.co, instead of talking about volume, what it does, it talks about how much do you, or what's your current treatment plan have you. So if you're taking 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams per dose, you would then put down my dose is 10 milligrams. Then on the way it's supplied, you would say that the supply dose is 20 milligrams per milliliter. So you'd put in how it's supplied, and it would tell you what it would be. So for example, if you were taking 5 milligrams was what you wanted your dosing to be, and it's supplied in 20 milligrams, and we're referencing per milliliter, and this would be on your label on the bottle, then this calculator is going to tell you how much that should be. Again, if your supplied dose was only 10 because you had to switch producers, you had to change suppliers for your product, this is going to tell you, well, now you need to take a half of a milliliter of volume. So mydose.co helps you figure out the dosing. You just got to look at the bottle and then know by using the journal, how much am I taking now? So think of it this way. As opposed to saying I take one Tylenol at night, we want to be talking how many milligrams. So are you taking one extra strength tablet of 500 milligrams, or are you taking one small one at 100 milligrams? So we want to talk dosing, and this tool is going to be able to help you with that.
I would love to backtrack if I could for a second. Just a couple small points you guys had touched on before we got into the path and some of these other excellent resources. And that is the CBD and the side effect, where lightheadedness, it has the potential to be bad. If you're driving or doing something where you need to be concentrating and all of a sudden that happens. And so often we hear in terms of CBD versus THC, CBD is much safer because it doesn't make me stoned. I just want to caution our listeners, though, CBD is not without side effects. And the other thing is when we talk hypersensitive, and both of you guys have brought this up, we often talk of having the conversation with your family doctor. You don't have to. Linda's a perfect example of that, of previous things that led her not to, and that's fine. But make sure you consult a doctor, even if you're using CBD, the one that doesn't make you stoned. Consult a doctor familiar with cannabinoids, CBD and THC, and how they work with the body. And I just wanted to say that as a public service announcement, if you will. You put it into your body, it has the potential to interact and do things, even CBD. And so working with a doctor familiar with cannabis and the cannabinoids within cannabis is an excellent thing to do. So thank you.
Paul, let me just take one more step on that, if you don't mind. I would say to add, so what Paul's saying is, there's safety aspects to CBD with your medicines. So talk to your doc, but one more step is talk to your pharmacist. If you're starting a new medication or even going to pick up your next renewals, if we use Linda's example, if you start CBD today, next time you go pick up those medicines at the pharmacy, tell your pharmacist, I've now started CBD. Is this okay with my current medicines? The pharmacist's job is to actually be doing that. So if you're not in to see your doc, at least they can follow up with a doc, or they can look at that as a treatment. But what we're really trying to say is use your healthcare team, whether that's your doc, your pharmacist. We want to make sure it's safe for you. So use people at your disposal to make sure it's safe for you.
Previous conversations, Doug, I don't remember if it was Jay or in another instance, information is now coming to flag when someone is taking cannabis, CBD or THC. And this is a good thing. This is a positive thing. It might not be anything. It might just be for informational purposes only. Lots of interactions are exactly that. But it is good that it's being flagged these days because it can do harm.
Exactly. My last piece is all of our live streams are getting pushed out onto our podcast. We're now streaming on our podcast. New episodes are dropping Wednesday mornings at 8:30. We'd ask that you follow us. So like us, follow us, share us. Please leave a comment. We want to grow up our podcast following. So if you can help us with that, we'd appreciate it. If you don't listen to any podcasts now, you can find us at podcast.weedwell.com. And you'll be able to get right to our episode. You can search the one that's most interesting to you and follow that. Again, you can find it on Google, you can find it on Apple or your favorite podcast channel. Every week we seem to be getting added to a new podcast streaming device. So look at your device that you're using for your podcast, search Weedwell, like us, follow us, subscribe. We'd appreciate that. As well, the last plug I'm going to make is if you also want to rewatch any of our episodes, you can find them at weedwell.tv. Weedwell.tv is our YouTube channel. I'd ask that you subscribe to that as well. Like it, share it, follow it with your friends. You can watch any of our past broadcasts on there as well. Mark.
Yeah, so I'd like to remind our audience that the information that was shared in this and previous broadcasts are for particular people or patients specifically, and that their specific condition should never serve as a diagnosis or treatment plan for yourself or for a loved one. So please do speak to your healthcare provider about the appropriateness of cannabis as a treatment option for those of you who have taken some steps in improving your quality of life. Congratulations. Remember, your journey is your journey. And as long as you're taking some steps forward to improving the quality of your life, you should be proud of the progress that you're making. And at WeedWell, we are committed to helping people improve their quality of life. And utilizing cannabis as a treatment option is one way to accomplish that. So we thank you for joining us in this broadcast, and we look forward to seeing you again real soon. And on behalf of our team that you see with us right now in this broadcast and other members in behind the scenes, we say till the next time, be well.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Path to Be Well podcast, a podcast about being well. Make sure to visit our website at weedwell.com, where you can subscribe to our show so you never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in this week's show, we'd appreciate you sharing this podcast or leaving a comment or rating. We look forward to you joining us next time. Until then, be well.